What did you say?
I think Messi and Ronaldo would score like me.
Why?
Just like that.
It's Ronaldo who can break again. And can he kill the Swedish dream? He has done so.
Football is a sport that promotes unity. This is fact, but as common as the fact may be, it is not absolute. There are significant doses of bad blood in the football world. Some football legends hate each other, from John Terry and Wayne Bridge to Colo Touré and William Gallas. These are football legends that hate each other. First in this video is the feud between
Messi.
former Liverpool striker Luis Suarez and Manchester United legend Patrice Evra. But before we get down to business, kindly smash the like and share buttons. Also, please subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any videos. Luis Suarez is no longer on the list of the best strikers on the planet, but once upon a time, dude was one of the finest strikers in Europe. He made his name with Liverpool and even went on to do much bigger things with Barcelona.
You say in the book that the word negro means something different.
No, cada cultura tiene su forma de hablar, su forma diferente y por eso es totalmente diferente a cómo se explica en Inglaterra, cómo se explica en Uruguay o en España, ¿no? Porque negro en Uruguay le puedes decir a cualquier persona, a todo el mundo en todo momento y no en ningún momento es racista por más que seas negro, no seas negro y por eso también es lo que...
The football world has always remembered Suarez as a member of the deadliest attacking trios in modern football history. But that's not all Planet Football will remember him for. He will also be remembered as one of the most annoying players on the planet, and this is something Patrice Evra knows too well. You see, both players might have been some of the best in their positions. However, they are not the best of friends, and you guessed it, Suarez. If you think Evra was the victim of Suarez's biting habit, you are wrong.
Unfortunately for him, I speak Spanish, and I say, what did you say? And he said again, the N-word, and he said, anyway, I don't speak with any N-word.
Instead of hurting the Frenchman with his teeth, Suarez got under the skin of his word to apologize. Well, in the absence of an apology, Suarez got an 8-match ban and also earned Evra as a longtime enemy. It is quite easy to understand Suarez looking to get under Evra's skin, as both players played for rival teams and had to always be at each other's necks. But there was just not to be an explanation for teammates becoming enemies. Teammates are supposed to be buddies, even if you're not best of friends, but I don't think William Gallas and Touré agree with this notion. Several years ago, the Gunners had Touré and Gallas as two of their trusted defenders. These guys worked.
Oh, that's a lovely little chip. Gallas is there. The deadlock is broken. And Percy's corner. Free header for Gallas.
Together and achieved a lot for Arsenal. But in the midst of their success as Arsenal players, they just couldn't see eye to eye, and this is putting it lightly. These two gentlemen refused to communicate for quite a while, and what makes one wonder how they really stayed together, well, somehow they were able to get along. However, in their last season together, they literally fell apart, and Arsenal paid for this. Just a handful of people know what the bone of contention between Colo and William was. However, there is a notion that the two stars stopped seeing eye to eye because of Gallas's loss of the captain's armband. Several years after playing together at Arsenal, William and Colo are no longer enemies. They are not friends either. Right now, they have a professional relationship. You see, a professional relationship might not seem like the best, but it is definitely better than enemies for life. Sadly, Maxi Lopez might not agree with this. As far as the football world is concerned, Maxi Lopez and Mauro Icardi are sworn enemies. This wasn't always the case. As a matter of fact, both men were the best of friends until Icardi decided to steal his friend's woman. Somehow, maybe Lopez couldn't have forgiven Icardi, and life could have returned to normal, but that wasn't what happened. Dude did not just lose his wife, he lost his marriage and his children. After Icardi's affair with Lopez's wife, he went on to marry her. Icardi did the unthinkable. This is no doubt about that. However, Terry did the same. We will see this later, but Roy Keane took away another player's source of income after obviously thinking through. It might not be surprising that Roy Keane is in this video. During his active days in the sport, he was considered football's football's bad boy. He was a nightmare to several players, and if you didn't know him too well, you would compare him to Sergio Ramos. But as bad as Ramos is, it didn't end any player's career. Unfortunately, we can't say the same about Roy Keane. Dude is the reason Erling Haaland appears to hate Manchester United. In 1997, Roy Keane came down on Haaland with a rough tackle. Well, Haaland was lucky and escaped without getting hurt. Unfortunately, Roy Keane was hurt and Haaland couldn't help but mock him. 4 years after this incident, Keane came down hard on Haaland again. This time, he got him where he wanted, and this was the end of Haaland's career. Roy Keane clearly got all he wanted from his tackle and didn't even bother pretending about what he did. This is something Haaland will never forget, and both players have enemies since then. Keane didn't like Haaland, but he didn't see a point in quitting confrontational. He let his game do the talking. Sadly, Ibrahimovic and Iwu didn't think this was necessary. Before meeting Onwenu in Milan, it appeared Zlatan could easily pick on other players without being scared of repercussions. No player was really ready to have a real confrontation with him. Well, things changed when he met Onwenu. Zlatan, in his usual fashion, mocked Onwenu by saying he looked like a heavyweight boxer and not a footballer. Another person would have probably not given this a lot of attention, but Onwenu took it up, and the two players almost got physical in training. It is common knowledge now that you have seen right now. But in 2010, they couldn't see eye to eye. Zlatan only had to deal with the physical fight, but this next player had to go to prison for saying the wrong thing. Just like Zlatan, who had a reputation for picking on other players, Emre also had a record of being racist. The Turkish player was sent to jail for several months for racially abusing Didier Zakora. In addition to going to jail, Dude also earned himself as an enemy. Emre perhaps had no reason to racially abuse another player, but Vieira and Keane had a lot at stake for their active days as football players. The days of Arsenal and Manchester United were the biggest rivals in England might be long gone. However, the events that have been associated with those days will never be forgotten. In the heart of these events was the enmity between Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira. You see, Vieira and Keane were in the heart of the midfield, so they always had to go head-to-head each time the teams met. As much as it was supposed to be football for these guys, it was about establishing their dominance on the pitch. Since they were both operated as alpha males on the pitch, they were always at each other's necks, and they were so their enmity is quite understandable. However, it would be impossible to understand teammates being enemies. Kahn and Lenman were some of the best goalkeepers of their generation, and interestingly, they both played in the same era. That's not all. Both were German goalkeepers and went head-to-head at the #1 spot behind the German defense. The competition between Lenman and Kahn had been healthy, as they were both interested in bringing value to their teams. Sadly, they both have a healthy competition and seemingly had nothing but hatred for each other. At the moment, they have a bone of contention that we know, so it is safe to say they are better. There is nothing that points towards Lenman and Kahn being enemies. However, the next players are most likely not in a good place yet, and this is a good time to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Well, at Manchester City, Joey Barton assaulted Ousmane Dabo. It is unclear what the provocation was, but the punishment wasn't hidden. Dude had spent time in jail for this assault while talking about what transpired between him and his teammate. Dabo referred to Joey as a coward, so these guys probably do not see eye to eye yet. People can go into a fight for reasons we might not understand, but you do not need to be so knowledgeable to understand why people hate each other when one person crosses an obvious boundary. Terry will always be a Chelsea legend, but he is not in everyone's good books, and one of them is Wayne Bridge. These guys used to be friends. However, this friendship ended when the former Chelsea captain bedded Vanessa Parsonnel, who happened to be Wayne's lady. And it gets worse. He got her pregnant and even went on to push for an abortion. The world will never forget Terry's betrayal of Bridge. However, most Chelsea fans will always consider him one of the best things to happen to football. That's all we can take for this video. Please watch the next video on the screen. Also subscribe to this channel before moving on.